Hey everyone, welcome to Kyle of Asgard. Are you a hobbyist or you consider yourself a professional prop, costume or jewellery maker? Then I'm sure you would have no problem finding a use for this giant Resin SLA 3D printer that won't break the bank. To my right is the T200 TianFour SLA 3D printer. It's a bit of a mouthful. The beauty of this 3D printer is that it is under $1,000. In fact, it's about 800 US dollars, or in my case, 1,250 New Zealand dollars. Thanks, exchange rate. And the reason why I purchased this 3D printer is because it has a massive build volume for an SLA 3D printer versus something like the Anycubic Photon. The Anycubic Photon has a 115 by 65 by 150 millimeter print bed, which is roughly that by this. Whereas actually it's a lie, it's more like this. Whereas this has a 215 by 135 by 200 millimeter print volume. You know, huge difference there. Now, I wanted this 3D printer so that I could build and print large scale collectibles like this beautiful Wonder Woman 3D model here. Armor, props, pretty much anything just in larger scale, but I wanted that beautiful clean quality that you get from SLA 3D printers that's really hard to achieve with FDM, if not impossible, without spending thousands of dollars. Now, this is the resin that I received with the T200 3D printer, and this is a AliExpress ordered resin, link in the description, that I ordered a litre of it to go alongside just so that I have a bit more to play with. Both of these resins perform very similarly with the settings that I put on my printer, and that was shit. Because nowhere has references of what the ideal resin settings are for every printer. And being that this printer is not an incredibly well-known printer, I had nothing to go off. So I initially started with 3D printing this Wonder Woman statue, and the bust, first time, printed beautifully. After that, I tried printing the legs and arms on the same build plate, and I got about a 30% success rate. I then printed the remaining 3 items. I had a 50% success rate, out of 3 items, so 1.5 worked. I then printed each one separately. 1 worked, 1 didn't. I then printed 1 again with these 4 items, the Rook, the Ring, the Angry Little Gimli, and the Rook. And all 5 of the pieces worked beautifully, which is really nice. Now, at this time, I'm still playing around with settings. I got in contact with a couple of people on a few different Facebook pages, and someone finally shared with me their settings that they were using for a 0.05mm layer height. And it turned out that by the looks of it, my layer exposure time was about 40 to 50% too high for what it ideally should have been. So then I 3D printed this Iron Man statue, and that worked out really well. It doesn't look as good as it did because I put a layer of primer on it when it wasn't quite cured, so don't take that as a good reference. And then the second print I did was this little bubby Thanos bust. Now, all of these models that you've got in front of me, I will have the links for them down below, as some of them are actually some really beautiful little statues. But the Thanos is a very good example of the quality and detail that you can get. This guy's only about 60 millimeters in height, and you can see all the little ball sack dimples in his chin. You can faintly see the Infinity War underneath the Avengers A, and that's really hard to see because it was tiny writing and I shrunk it down as it was. And then there's also this torture test. This is a lattice cube abomination. This is one hell of a torture test for your 3D printers. And basically this printed first time, it didn't have the bottom. That was an issue with my settings again. But it 3D printed the rest of it, and there's only about 6 or 7 little 0.8mm lines of print that aren't connected. But overall, I'm incredibly impressed with the high quality that this printed out. Now, this video is not a review. This is an initial thoughts review. Because I've run out of resin. 1.5 litres of it. Would you believe it? Basically, my first prints, because I had so many fails and that I had a lot of supports that were just being printed with nothing on them, and these printers require a lot of cleanup. Whereas with an FDM printer, the beauty is that once it's printed, you just break it off the print bed and it's done. Whereas with an FDM, after you've printed it, you actually have to clean off the build plate because it'll have resin on it. You have to then take the print off that, put that into a bath of isopropyl alcohol, After doing that, you then have to clean the build bed. You then have to remove the bottom tank, pour out the resin, clean the bed, and once that's all done, you can then leave it alone. As I sit here editing this video, I realized I forgot to mention, after you've gone through the hassle of cleaning up your build plate, your bed, and anything else that's gotten messy while you've been cleaning the printer, you also have to put the prints into UV light to get them to finish curing. This can be out in the sunlight or under, a nail polish curing lamp, high intensity blacklight, etc., but you need to do that. Otherwise the prints will remain sticky and they won't finish hardening. So moving on to a couple of pros and cons for this computer. Printer. So right off the cuff, the huge print volume is a pro. That's why I bought this printer, and I'm very happy with the build volume that it is. Realistically, this will allow you to print, I'd say, quite comfortably. Look at the mirror in here. You could probably print a full close-fitting face mask on here in one piece, if not comfortably in two. That also is a con though, because to fill this tank, you're already needing 300 mils of resin just to fill the bottom of it. And so if you were to do a larger print, for example, something like the bus here, you have to fill that tank and keep a bloody good eye on it that it doesn't empty and ruin your print. The printer's also got a very nice little responsive touchscreen on here. I am a fan of touchscreens, but I couldn't care for it. I have no problem with using a dial and selecting my way through a menu. For a lot of people, they won't buy a printer if it doesn't have one. I don't care. But it is a great little thing. Simple user interface to find your models, to change your bed leveling, and basically all the core stuff that you would need. Another really great thing about this 3D printer is it uses a linear guide rail to run the Z-axis, as well as that I think it's called a ball lead screw, which if you don't know what that is, instead of having, for example, like the CR10s and the Ender 3s and various other printers where they have a threaded rod and essentially a nut attached to it to change the Z height, imagine that the rod had wider teeth, the nut was a bit wider, and there was actually ball bearings that would contact in between the threaded rod and the nut, causing a much smoother motion for your Z-axis. The linear guide rail is a big deal. Physics Anonymous on YouTube, they upgraded the Anycubic Photon with linear guide rails to improve print quality, and it actually made, for what was already a great little machine, a phenomenal difference in quality. So it's really nice to see that these machines already come equipped with linear guide rails. This is a full aluminium body. It has adjustable feet for really ideal optimal leveling. It has a really, really butty, what is the output on this bad boy? 24 volt 10 amp power supply. This is really nice because a lot of 3D printers, especially the older types, would have exposed leads and wiring, whereas this is just a simple male connector and whatever plug you're running in your country. In regards to cons, I haven't really talked a huge amount about them except for having to use a large amount of resin for this 3D printer. When I first received the printer, it said that it was already leveled, which is quite nice. I did try re-leveling it when I was troubleshooting, trying to get the layers and whatnot to work properly. Whether I did adjust it or not, I don't know. So this is more of a possible con as opposed to a guaranteed one. I think the FEP film that's on the bottom of this is what the resin sits on while it's hardening and then it comes off it. They're a Teflon integrated film that makes it so that they don't stick easily unless it's dirty. I think these could be a little bit thicker. That measured to roughly about 150 microns, which means it's either a cheap 100 micron or a cheap 200 micron film. I've ordered some 200 micron films to put on there just to give it a try, and as well as that, to make it a little bit easier to avoid damaging it. I was using predominantly sort of metal, sharp-edged steel spatula. And I would use this for cleaning the FEP film, cleaning the print bed, you name it. And it worked out really well for me, I didn't have a problem. However, first time, I used one of these plastic ones that came with the 3D printer the other night, and I almost put this corner through the FEP film. Yeah, plastic. Didn't go so well. Luckily, I didn't pierce it. I did bend it a lot though. I put a little bit of a heat on there with the lighter. It reformed it, and so now everything should be good as gold. But I do have some 200 micron layers coming through that'll hopefully do the trick. Having an incredibly large amount of trouble with getting the settings right in the slicer, which is not the printer's fault. I'm excited. I'm very much looking forward to the future of what I'm going to get out of this printer. I am very happy with the latest results of what kind of quality can be achieved with this. I really want to have a go at making some detailed jewellery. It's not my cup of tea to make jewellery, but I want to see what it's capable of, because there's some incredibly finely detailed rings out there. If you wanted to do larger models, for example, the Wonder Woman statue, this is absolutely perfect for it in my books. You could do it with a smaller printer and slice it up more. You just have more time gluing it together and tidying up seams and whatnot. Whereas with this, you could do one of these legs in one print, which is absolutely amazing for me and my purpose. I will probably do a follow-up video on this at a later date. However, at this point, that's kind of all I can offer, because I've run out of resin. If you want one of these 3D printers, I will have a link in the description below from the AliExpress wholesaler that I purchased it from. If I've had any queries in that, they've been really great at getting back to me on time and whatnot. And as well as that, it'll be an affiliate link, which means that if you buy it, you're buying it for the same price that you would from anywhere else, but I actually get a little bit of a kickback from it, which helps me to be able to do videos like this and to give you guys more content, as long as I haven't done one this year already, because as you know how frequently I post. And if you don't, you'll realise it very soon. As well as that, I'll have links to the resin, as well as all of these 3D models. This Wonder Woman statue, I will be doing a proper review once I print a finished model of it. This is a mock-up, this is a test print. I will not be doing a review of it with this. However, the link to the person who has modelled this will be below. I think it's about $30 for the model, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely stunning with every cent. They've done an amazing job, and I can't wait to print it again. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up so that I know that you like it and you want more of them. As well as that, it helps with the YouTube algorithm so that it can be seen by more people and get recommended. So that way people who are looking at one of these can find the video a bit easier. If you're not already subscribed, it'd be great if you did. If you don't, with my upload schedule, I'm not going to be surprised if you don't. And if you have any queries for me about this 3D printer, or you want to know anything else, please leave a comment in the description or head over to my Facebook, Instagram, anywhere. Feel free to ask. I'm happy to answer any and all queries about this printer. Thanks guys. Till next time.